Hi guys, it's me again. I've decided to kind of switch up my style and I'm going to have my first guest on and we're going to talk about the fairies and the elementals and how to connect to them. I thought this would be a great way to introduce my bestie here, Helen, who loves fairies just as much as I do. So, welcome to our chat and hopefully you guys love it. So, Helen, how are you?
Good. Hi, everyone.
And where are you coming from? Because you're across the world from me.
I'm across the pond. I'm in Derbyshire, England.
Love it.
Yeah, in the Midlands, right in the middle of the country. So, yeah.
Fab. Well, thank you again for coming and doing this with me because I couldn't imagine anybody else doing this with me because our passion for the fairy world is just as great.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. All right. So, one of the things I know, because we've been talking about this for a while, one of the things that the fairies do want us to kind of touch on is protecting and grounding, which is really important. And of course, we're going to talk about how we can connect to this beautiful fairy energy, which is everywhere. It's all over the world. I know there's a big thing about it just being very Celtic, a very like UK kind of vibe, but it is all over the world because I connect to it here in Canada and we all have a different way of doing it, right? There's all these little beautiful elemental spirits that kind of traverse the whole terrain, right?
Oh, definitely, definitely. You get kind of, I've got a couple of friends sort of on the continent in Europe that talk about fairies and things. They are everywhere. You can find
Right.
them in most literature.
Right. So yeah, one of the big things I wanted to do was just how important connecting to fairy energy is to me, and I would like it if you could talk about yours too. What it means to you, how you connect as well, and I'll talk about mine really quick. So one of the things that got me into fairy energy was actually Janine, which was really cute. She got me my first fairy deck and my first pendulum and stuff. I still have my deck here, right? I had to bring it out. And I wasn't quite sure what it meant, but she got me into it and I started connecting to the fairy energy. And just I started using cards first. And when I started using the cards, I kind of realized they had their own like elemental connection. It was like earth, wind, fire, water kind of connection. And I was like, okay, this is like earth energy, which really resonates with them. And they were like, yes, that's exactly what we do. Right. What was your connection like, your first connection?
Um, yeah, so I guess I kind of have connected with them since I was a child, but not really realized what it was I was doing as a child.
Mhm.
I had what my family called an imaginary friend, which I now know was clearly a fairy spirit. But kind of what got me back into it was you, funnily enough. Having one of my readings with you really early on, and you kind of picked up on that's the energy that was surrounding me, and then I kind of got back into it from there, and kind of so the first instance when I connected with the fairies again after we'd had our chat was just very gentle.
Mhm.
I was just outside and thinking about the fairies, and I'd done a little bit of reading, um, and yet it was missable. I could have missed it if I hadn't been looking for it, because it was
Yeah.
just that feeling. You're outside and you're trying to be with nature, and I just got a brush. I just got a few fairies brush past me. Um, yeah, and then I kind of built into it. And I also got a deck to
Right.
help me connect a bit more.
Right. It's a great tool. It kind of gets you connected to like their archetypes, their energy, their vibration, right? But like I was saying at the beginning, it's really just having that connection with nature. And one of my big ones is of course like grounding, right? Getting out into the grass, like just connecting with the actual organic material, right? Tree sits. I love the water here. I'll connect to the rivers because I'm so close to a bunch of rivers here. So I find like connecting to those different energies. People think it's just the elements, but they're actually like they have their own sentient energies and they're always connected to the fairy energy, right?
Yes, yeah, they do like that physical that, as you say, tree sitting, and
Yeah.
I live by a waterway here. We have quite a lot of canals in my area, and my house backs onto a canal, and there's a lovely walk and lots of trees. And whenever I'm there, I can just feel the fairy energy, and that sort of nature energy connects. So you through the fairies, you commune with the rest of nature. So you can, you can feel the trees and help, as you say, with the grounding that you need to do. And yeah, it all really interconnects really well. And as you say, they absolutely have a real presence. That the
Oh yeah.
fairies are really they can be here.
Right? Yeah. They definitely make themselves known. And it's so funny because I think one of the big things about fairies is that they get a bad name. They're like tricksters, or they're gonna like fool you, and they're only out to like steal your food and your baby and your money and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Which I thought was funny at the beginning because I think everybody's kind of had that kind of story. Of course, there are trickster energies, but it's usually not the fairy energy at all, is what I've discovered. They really love it when you're connecting. They really want to connect and make sure that you're okay and that you're doing like earth work, right? Because we're here to experience earth, right?
definitely. And I think the only time that they get tricky, in a it's not tricky.
Hmm.
They might play a few practical jokes because they have quite a strong sense of humor,
Hmm.
but it's usually to help you learn something. So they might, take your keys so that you learn how to be more patient in, or to put them away in the correct place,
Right?
to put them where you should put them, rather
Right.
than just slinging them on the table or something.
Yeah.
Usually that's where that trickster energy comes from the fairies. As you say, the more malevolent kind of energies tend not to be fairy energies. They tend to be something else, definitely.
Definitely something else, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Whereas like a little bit of trickery is okay, right? Because they'll slow you down for sure. I've had that a few times with missing keys or my phone, or I can't find my specific jacket, right? You look there 14 times, and of course they're like, okay, well, you've waited long enough, and like, here's your jacket back. I've gotten that before.
Yes, I have a particular spirit that likes to live in my oven. And if I'm about to cook something really naughty, the oven won't light itself. I have to light it. It's got
Oh
the
my
sort of function
gosh.
to light itself.
That's
Um,
hilarious.
yeah, so they do like to play that one on me. But if I'm going to cook something really healthy, it will light itself every time.
Oh my goodness. Way to keep you on track. Hey. Oh my goodness gracious, that's hilarious. I love stuff like that. Okay, let's get into grounding and protecting because that's one of the big things that they want humans to do. That's what we were both kind of getting about energy work, right? Because there's a lot of energy going on worldwide. So this isn't one thing, whether we're connecting to the actual Fey energy right away or whether you're just grounding and protecting. I think that's going to be key just to help center some of the energy, right? There's lots of vibrational scales out. There's lots of stuff going on everywhere for everyone. So having those tools are really key. So grounding and protecting are very important for me in my day-to-day life, schedule, everything, dealing with people, going out for driving, getting groceries. I do all that stuff for myself. So one of the one big things I do for grounding, of course, is like nature. I'll do grounding with my feet, even in the winter. I'm going to confess, I'll go out in the snow and do it. Not the best, but I'll do it. Of course, I do herb burnings. So I have cedar and juniper here in Canada. So I do those. And then I also have dark stones, right? Like I even have this to
Oh
help
wow.
me ground. So it's got a nice little mix of stuff, right? It does a grounding and protecting. So I do those ones on a regular basis. So I'll do it in the morning and sometimes I'll do it throughout the day if I feel like I need it. What do you do for grounding?
So I'm very similar. I do, I go out in nature and I like to walk on the grass in my backyard in bare feet to really ground. And I'm lucky enough to have a limestone patio back there as well, and that really helps, walking on the stone. But also I have a kind of a technique that I use that's based on kind of a fairy idea. So um, I imagine I've got an energy tail, if that makes sense,
Ooh,
like
I
a
like it.
fairy tail. And no matter where I am, what I'm doing, if I really feel like I need to ground, I use my energy tail. If I can't, if I can't get out there into nature and I can't be barefooted, really grounding, I'll use my energy tail. And it essentially all I do is I imagine the energy tail being there, and I do, breath work and deep breathings in and breathings out. And when I'm breathing in, I just imagine the energy from earth coming up as if my tail's an antenna into the earth, and
Love it.
I'll breathe in and bring it up, and then when I breathe out, I'll take it down and I'll remove the energy. And sometimes I like to change it up though. Sometimes I'll breathe out and bring the energy in as if it's kind of filling me
Ooh,
instead of my breath. And then when I breathe in, I kind of push the energy out and bring the air in, and it's almost like it cleanses the breath for me. And
ooh, I
that
love
really
it.
helps
What a
me to
great technique. I like it. That's awesome. Love it. The next one is protecting, which is really key. There's a lot of people out there not protecting their energy. Willy nilly is going out there. Um, my go-to that I still do, and I've been doing it since I was about 12, is putting myself in a love bubble, which I think is adorable. It's still adorable to this day, but it
it's
tennis
really cute.
So I put myself in my little love bubble, and I do a grounding at the same time. So I'll connect to earth, and of course I'll connect to creator at the same time. So then you're connected and you're in this like beautiful bubble, white light, whatever you want to visualize coming in as love or protection. And then I kind of sit in that energy. And if I need to put myself in it, and then I put my house in it, or I'll put a separate one in my house. Or if I'm out driving, I put myself in one and I put my vehicle in one, right? So that's a great one that I do. And then you kind of envision, like I do earth energy and creator energy. So I kind of bring both of them in as that grounding and protecting energy, right? So I bring it both in, and I imagine, like, if I really need to, that I'm invisible, right? So that nobody can see me, right? So that's one of the biggest ones. And like I said, I've been doing this since I was 12, right? So it's one of the biggest ones. And I still know people to this day that still do it. And I'll tell everybody about it because it's the easiest one, easiest visual. Like I like a good visual.
Yes, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I very much like visuals as well. I'm very much kind of that same idea, that bubble, that kind of sphere, if you like, around. And I do the same thing around myself, then around the house, or around a particular part of the house if I feel like there's
Mm-hmm.
something really strange going on. Quite often, I'll just automatically do that around the bedroom when I'm sleeping,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
to protect, because I do find that dreams are easier for them to. Um,
Something to slip in for sure.
yes, yeah, and if you're really not careful, it can keep you awake.
Definitely keep you awake, make for some not good dream states. Yeah. A
Yes, yes,
little bit of
exactly.
chaos. Yeah.
And
Uh,
I tend to do the mirror as well. So if I
ooh,
feel like
yeah.
someone's energy is really trying to either get through my barrier, or if I feel a bit, I don't really like the term energy vampire, but if they're trying to suck my energy when I'm not looking for it, I'll
Yeah.
do the visualizer mirror that's facing their way, so it kind of bounces back at them. It's almost
Yeah.
like a
Kind of
wall.
like the invisible thing, right? Like you can't get mine, but you can take yours back. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, please.
You're
You
attached to yourself. Yeah. That's a good one. I like that. Awesome. And I think one of the last things we should talk about before we go is connecting to the Fae energy. So what it means and what is the best way to start, right? Feelings and stuff like that. So one of the things that I do, like I've been doing this for a while, so it's kind of hard to remember a good way to start, but I'm out in nature constantly. I live too close to too many like beautiful parks and the mountains. So when I'm out hiking or sitting by a lake or a river, I always leave like a little bit of food as an offering, right? Because it's thank you for letting me sit here. Thanks for the peace, right? Because how can you not be peaceful in and around nature, right? If you're out in nature and it's stressful, you're doing it wrong, right? So
Yeah,
I go in and I always like say thank you, and I always leave a little bit of an offering. And if I don't have food, I'll leave like some coins, right? Because it's just what I've been used to doing for so long. And that definitely makes a difference, and especially if you're out in their area, right? Like you wouldn't want somebody coming into your house unannounced. So when you're going in, I always like say thank you for letting me come in and hang out on the trail, hang out by the water. So I leave a little bit of something. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, yes, that's exactly the same for me. I'll leave an offering, and especially I'm quite lucky again with where I am. There's a lot of natural plants that you can forage from.
Mm-hmm.
So again, leaving an offering when I'm foraging, because you know I'm taking from nature, so I feel like I should leave something, and something sometimes it's as little as pouring out some of the water from a water bottle to
Yeah. Yeah.
fertilize. But there's a particular tree I sit near that I often leave a polo, what is a mint, by as a little offering. Like you say, anything you have with you that
Yeah.
sometimes it's even doing something because the fairies love music, and I know you know this
Mm-hmm.
because you're a musical fiend too. But yes, they love music, and sometimes it is just you know whistling a tune or humming something strange or just singing a nonsense song will just connect you with them, and
Yeah.
they'll take that as an offering because they love it. You
Yeah.
know,
The playful energy, like if you're out there and you're actually enjoying the love, the vibe, the beautiful energy, the beautiful scenery. They're very playful, they're very fun, right? They remind you to bring back that energy into your life, which is key, right? A lot of us forget about this. We're too busy working, we're too busy worrying about what we have to do tomorrow instead of enjoying our moment in the day, looking at the sun or listening to the wind, right? I love bells outside. That's one of the big things I do. And I'll just sit and listen to the bells, right? And it's like that wind energy, because like I mentioned at the beginning, they come in the four elements, right? So whether it's little animals or like beautiful little flowers randomly, and people always talk about mushroom fairy rings, which if you've seen one, you know what you're looking at, and the wind one is really important, right? Because sometimes wind isn't my favorite. It's really cold here, but with the bells, I'm like, okay, they're around, and I always like make a special effort to enjoy that, because if you're not enjoying it, you're just living in the 3D human world.
yes, yes, exactly. And although that's important, and that's why the grounding is so helpful to help you live that sort of human
Hmm.
element, they
Hmm.
like you to remember that you're not all about the human. You are also about that spirit, that nature, that chaotic energy that nature comes with. That
Yeah,
it's organized chaos, but it's definitely what's around the next corner. Nobody knows.
right? Literally. And it was so funny because you and I were both chatting before we started this, and both of us got so amped up. We were so excited, right? And I'm still feeling it. I'm like, I'm gonna ride this beautiful energy all day. I know this for sure, which is great. But that's another thing about connecting to the fairy energy, is just enjoying that. It feels nervous, it feels scary, but it's this joy, it's this excitement, it's this exhilaration for what's next, right?
Certainly, certainly. And it's something that, society often forgets, and they fear the idea of change.
Yeah,
So sometimes it can feel unnatural to feel that joy over not knowing what's next. And so I think people sometimes fight against it. And again, that links us back to the idea of protecting your energy so that it's not something external, and
yeah,
making sure that it's you, and releasing that fear, because fear is one thing that the fairies don't really care for,
no,
because they're happy to see what happens, and fear is not something that's often in their remit. So they do love it when you get into that moment and really enjoy.
I love it. Love it. Well, I think this is a great intro. I'm really happy with it. And I think next time we'll get into the cards,
Oh, definitely, definitely.
right? And then we'll see, we can tap into the different energies of the spirit, like the phase archetypes, and what the kind of like social structure, I guess you could call it, of the phase. And then we can get into that.
Sounds like a plan to me.
I love
I
it.
love exploring this stuff. I could talk
Right?
about it forever.
I love it. Awesome. Well, hopefully everybody enjoyed this. Leave a comment if you want to see another one, if you want us to get into the cards. We're probably going to do it anyways. So, but let me know what you guys want to know, or if you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments. I'll be reading them. Thanks, guys. See you, Helen.
Bye. Thanks, Ashley.
Bye
Bye.
bye.